therapist Kristen Jacobson.
Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the anxiety therapist, and this week's video is going to be the last in my series about Dialectical Behavior Therapy, or DBT. And DBT is full of skills that really help with emotional regulation and distress tolerance. So today I'm going to be talking about another 4, and that includes mindfulness, positive self-talk, self-soothing, and radical acceptance. Starting with mindfulness, this is sort of the foundation of DBT. It's where everything starts. And it's really about being present in the moment without letting your mind get hijacked by thoughts about either the past or worries about the future. And when you practice mindfulness, you can approach situations with what DBT calls wise mind, which is basically a balance between logic and emotion. So when I'm working with clients, I like to refer to them having a logical brain and an emotional brain. And, usually we're sort of operating in one or the other, and wise mind sort of marries the two. It's the middle ground where your rational mind, which is based in facts and logic, and your emotional mind, which is based in feelings and impulses, they sort of meet in the middle. So when you're in wise mind, you're really making decisions that take into account both your thoughts and emotions, and this just leads to more balanced choices. There are some what skills to mindfulness, and these are basic actions that you can take to practice mindfulness. One is observe, so you want to just notice your surroundings, thoughts, and feelings without getting caught up in them. You want to describe, so put words to what you're experiencing without judgment. So, for example, I'm feeling anxious instead of I shouldn't be feeling this way. A lot of times we tell ourselves we shouldn't be experiencing certain feelings. And then participate. So fully engage in what you're doing, whether it's having a conversation with a friend or washing the dishes. Then there are how skills, and these tell you how to apply the what skills that I just talked about. So we want to do this non-judgmentally, see things as they are without labeling them as being good or bad. We also want to operate one mindfully, so focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking often pulls us away from being fully present. And then we want to do things effectively. We want to do what works best in the situation instead of what you think you should do, and keep your focus on the outcome that you want. So there are 2 types of mindfulness. One is opening the mind. This consists of observing or watching kind of whatever comes into your awareness without holding on to or pursuing whatever happens to enter. So it's the simple act of noticing thoughts, emotions, and sensations. So if you think about yourself sitting at a train station and you're just sitting on the bench watching the trains go through, think about that as sort of your way of watching those thoughts, emotions, and sensations just kind of pass by, right? You're not jumping on the train. You're not clinging to them or fixating on them. You're just observing them go by. Then the second type of mindfulness is focusing the mind. So this involves focusing your attention on specific internal or external events. So for example, you can focus on doing deep breathing exercises, and this can really help reduce that noise in your head and bring a sense of calm. And if you're doing any guided meditations, usually they're asking you to focus on something specific. So number 2 is positive self-talk, and this involves sort of rewiring your brain's narrative. So let's talk about how our brains are wired, and particularly when it comes to the stories we tell ourselves. So if you've ever found yourself in a loop of negative thoughts, just know that you're not alone. This is very common, and our brains actually have a natural tendency to lean toward negativity because this is part of our survival instincts, right? Our ancestors needed to focus on potential threats in order to stay safe. So this natural tendency toward negativity has sort of been dubbed the backwards brain. And what we can identify are what we can refer to as ants, automatic negative thoughts. And these are the negative thoughts that pop into your head automatically, often without you even realizing it. And most of these ants developed by the time we're around 7 years old. And so the problem is that they're not always accurate or helpful. So if you're having thoughts like, I'm a failure or nobody likes me, these would be common ants that can sort of spiral into more distress. So we want to counter these ants with positive self-talk. And I'm not talking about replacing the negative thoughts with overly optimistic ones, but really just to challenge them and reframe them. So first, you want to catch the thought. You want to notice when that ant pops up. Like I said, they're automatic. They're often outside of your awareness, so you're going to have to pay attention. Then you want to examine the evidence and ask yourself, what's the proof for or against this thought? So let's take the thought, I am a failure. What is the proof that you're a failure? Or what is some proof that you're not a failure? And then you want to reframe the thought. So replace the ant with a more balanced statement like, I made a mistake, but that doesn't make me a failure. Number 3 is self-soothing, which involves calming your senses. So when you're in distress, your nervous system can go into overdrive, and this really makes it hard to think clearly. So this is where self-soothing comes in. And the idea is to engage each of your 5 senses and just sort of bring a sense of calm and comfort to your body and mind. So we do this through the 5 senses: touch, sight, sound, smell, and taste. So touch, you want to think about things that might feel comforting to the touch, like feeling the warmth of the sun on your face, or taking a hot shower, rubbing lotion on your hands. For sight, you want to surround yourself with things that are visually calming. So it could be a nature scene, whether that's in real life, you're outside, or it could even be in a photo. Maybe it's a piece of art you love, or just dimming the lights. Sometimes that helps to regulate people's nervous systems, especially if you're a highly sensitive person. Sound, soothing sounds can really make a huge difference. So listening to calming music, hearing the waves of the ocean, again, that can be in real life or even through an app, or a guided meditation, just kind of choose whatever resonates with you. And then smell, scents have a really powerful effect on our mood and memory. And so you can experiment with different essential oils, scented candles, the smell of a campfire. That's one of my personal favorites. And then finally, taste. So a comforting taste can really bring immediate relief, such as a warm cup of tea or a piece of dark chocolate. Whatever you enjoy, just savor that experience. And number 4 is radical acceptance, which requires us to stop fighting reality. And this is one of the hardest DBT skills to practice, because it's about acknowledging reality as it is without trying to change it or wishing it were different. So I want to be very clear, this is not about approval or liking whatever the situation is. It's about freeing yourself from the suffering that comes from fighting against what's already happening. And the radical part means all the way, completely. So why this works is the way our brains process pain and suffering. So pain is going to be a natural part of life, right? It's unavoidable. But suffering often comes from our resistance to that pain. So by accepting reality, we can sort of reduce that extra layer of suffering that our minds tend to create. And, reality is what it is. Rejecting it isn't going to change it. So some ways to practice radical acceptance include first acknowledging the situation. So just admit to yourself what's happening, even if it's uncomfortable. Let go of control. Accept that you can't change the situation, only how you respond to it. And then 3 is commit to acceptance. So remind yourself that this doesn't mean you approve of what's happening. It just means you're choosing not to fight reality. So I hope this was helpful. I would love for you to practice these skills and let me know which ones you like, what you feel resonates with you the most. And I hope you all have a great week.